Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm excited to kick off today's presentation with a focus on the expansion roadmap, from gap recognition to global scale. This is like a universal ladder that shows us how to turn any idea into a full-blown empire. We'll start with the basics. Most companies stop too early. They either fix a small problem or create a decent product, but they don't push further to build culture, scale globally, or reintegrate their growth. This roadmap is a step-by-step guide. It takes us from spotting gaps, plugging them, innovating, branding, and eventually becoming part of the culture. Then we go global, split into new empires, and finally fold everything back into an adaptive system. Throughout the presentation, we'll look at what's happening inside the company, how customers feel, how culture shifts, what operators should do, and common traps that block growth. So let's get started and explore how to climb this ladder all the way to global success. All right, let's dive into tier -1, which we call gap recognition. This is all about spotting where the market reveals a hole, whether customers are defecting or improvising to get what they want. The core idea here is to identify that missing piece, the gap that's causing trouble. Financially, this doesn't contribute anything yet, but it's crucial because it sets the stage for what comes next, tier 0. Now, in the company reality, this often looks like confusion. People might ask, why are we losing sales? But then they argue it's not a big deal. That's a common misconception we need to move past. From the customer's point of view, it's pretty straightforward. They're saying, I wish they had this feature or service, and if we don't deliver, they'll just go somewhere else. So the culture shift we want is for everyone to start talking about what we're missing, what we don't have, rather than ignoring it. On the operational side, it's important to track what's happening: lost sales, churn notes, search demand, anything that signals a gap. The key here is to write a gap memo, backed by evidence, so we understand exactly where the holes are. Let's look at some examples. If campus food places don't offer dessert, students leave. Or if an app is missing direct messages, users defect to competitors. These are clear gaps that impact customer decisions. Now, here's the trap. Many think that these gaps are optional or not worth fixing. But the truth is, growth begins when you recognize and see the hole clearly. That's the first step toward fixing it and moving forward. Now, let's take a closer look at tier 0, which we can think of as a placeholder. This stage is built from a simple need: to stop losing. The core play here is to plug the gap quickly, essentially putting a band-aid on the problem. Financially, this might bring in around $180 million in revenue and roughly $126 million in profit, which sounds good at first glance. But the reality is that while it buys us some time, it often underperforms in the long run. From the company's perspective, there's relief. Finally, we have something in place. Operations may be stressed, but overall, the system feels stable. Now, from the customer's point of view, it's more like, it's there now, but it's meh. It doesn't excite or truly satisfy them. This also triggers a cultural shift inside the company. People stop complaining because they believe they've done enough, but nobody's really excited or hyped about it. In terms of what the company does next, the operator moves are minimal. Little to no R&D investment, just using existing assets and launching a basic version. Think of a generic brownie or a bare-bones video call embedded in a chat app. Simple, quick, but not very compelling. Sometimes, companies fall into the trap of thinking that a placeholder is a permanent solution. They believe that simply having something in place is enough, but that's a mistake. And here's the key takeaway. Placeholders can stop the bleeding temporarily, but they don't create loyalty or long-term value. They're just a quick fix, not a strategy for growth. All right, let's dive into tier 1, product innovation. This stage is all about building on a weak placeholder performance and turning it into something compelling. The core idea here is to make the product craveable, something customers genuinely want and love. When we look at the financials, we're seeing revenues between roughly $324 and $486 million, with profits in the $266 to $398 million range, which shows real traction. The big outcome at this stage is that we're experiencing our first true growth. It's a sign that we're on the right track. From the company's perspective, there's a real sense of excitement. People actually like what we're offering. And that enthusiasm fuels the teams to keep iterating, making improvements, and refining the product. From the customer's point of view, they're saying, "This is actually good. I'd come here for this." It's a crucial shift. Customers are recognizing the value and craving the product. That buzz starts to spread early through word of mouth, creating a culture shift within the company and the market. Operators are actively testing different variants, trying out new features, improving quality, and even nomming the hero product that stands out. Examples include Crazy Bread becoming a hit, or Slack evolving into a central hub for work, small changes that make a big difference. But there's a trap here. Sometimes you end up with too many options, and no clear winner emerges. That can dilute the focus and confuse customers. So the key takeaway here is that innovation is the moment when customers first choose you because of what you offer. It's the foundation that sets the stage for growth, loyalty, and future success. All right, let's dive into Tier 2, branding expansion. This approach is built from a hit product, so the foundation is already strong. The core idea here is to wrap that product in a compelling identity, making it more than just a thing, but a recognizable brand. Financially, we're talking about revenues in the range of around $500 to $650 million, with profits roughly between $400 and $525 million. The goal here is to normalize the product as part of culture. We want it to be more than a one-off. We want it to become a staple in people's lives. From the company's perspective, marketing becomes the main driver. Campaigns kick off to reinforce and expand the brand's presence. Now, from the customer's point of view, they're saying, "I want the name, not just the thing." They crave recognition, a label they can identify with, not just the product itself. This shift in culture means the product transforms into a line. People start posting the label, sharing the brand, making it part of their identity. As operators, we focus on moves like creating a nomming system, developing visuals, bundling products, and launching national campaigns to boost visibility. Think of examples like Hot and Ready Sweets, the Apple I line, or Nike's Jordan brand. All of these demonstrate how branding can elevate a product into a cultural icon. But we need to be cautious of a common trap: pretty branding without consistent product quality. It's easy to make something look good, but if the quality doesn't match, the brand's credibility suffers. So the key takeaway here is that branding makes the product sticky. It's what keeps customers coming back, creates loyalty, and ultimately sustains growth beyond the initial hit. All right, let's dive into Tier 3, fusion dominance. This approach is built on a powerful mix of innovation and branding, creating a brand that truly drives culture. The core play here is all about shaping the cultural landscape, making the brand a cultural driver rather than just a product seller. Financially, we're looking at revenues between roughly $750 million to $1 billion, with profits in the $600 to $800 million range. And the outcome of this approach? It's the billion-dollar unlock, transforming brands into cultural phenomena. Now, from a company's perspective, the marketing calendar can feel like a festival schedule, packed with excitement, constant launches, and events. Demand is just insane. Customers are constantly engaged and eager for what's next. From the customer's point of view, it's all about anticipation. When's the next drop? They plan around these launches because they're so integral to the culture. It's not just about buying a product, it's about being part of something bigger. This shift in culture is evident everywhere: memes, TikTok videos, user-generated hype. These elements fuel the buzz and make the brand feel alive and trending. Operators in this space leverage seasonal drops, collaborations, and community engagement to keep the momentum going. Think of iconic examples like pumpkin spice lattes, Yeezy sneaker releases, or Fortnite collaborations. They all generate massive excitement and buzz. But there's a trap to watch out for: oversupply, which can kill the hype. When too much product floods the market, the exclusivity diminishes and the excitement can fade. So the key takeaway here is that at Fusion, you don't push your product onto the audience. Instead, you let culture pull customers in. It's about creating a movement that people want to be part of, not just selling to them. Now, let's talk about Tier 4, Global Takeover. This stage is built on the foundation of domestic dominance, meaning the company has already established a strong presence in its home market. The core strategy here is to export that success globally, expanding into new markets to reach a broader audience. Financially, we're looking at revenues between around $800 million to $1.2 billion, with profits in the range of $640 to $960 million. The key outcome of this approach is developing a truly global adaptability, being flexible enough to thrive across diverse markets. From the company's perspective, this means setting up expansion teams in new regions, allowing the business to grow locally while maintaining its global vision. From the customer's point of view, the experience should feel familiar yet local. It feels local but still them. That's a crucial balance to strike. Culturally, this shift involves the brand starting conversations on a global scale, creating chatter that resonates worldwide. Operationally, it requires strategic moves like tailoring core and flexible menus or features, forming local collaborations, and ensuring compliance with regional regulations. Think of examples like McDonald's offering localized menus or Netflix curating both global and local shows. But a common trap here is simply copying and pasting what worked elsewhere without adapting it to the local context, which can backfire. So the main takeaway is that true scale isn't just about reaching more people. It's about achieving both global reach and local resonance. That's what creates a lasting, meaningful presence across markets. Now, let's move on to Tier 5, Microniches. These are built from the foundation of global success, but the real focus here is on creating depth through tribes. Essentially, companies are honing in on very specific groups of passionate customers, which helps deepen engagement and loyalty. Financially, we're talking about revenues ranging from around $1 to $1.4 billion, with profits roughly between $800 million and $1.1 billion. The outcome: you get strong loyalty and a lot of buzz around these niche products. From the company's perspective, this approach allows niche product managers to emerge, focusing entirely on these specialized markets. And from the customer point of view, it's pretty compelling, many say. They even made one for me, which highlights how personalized and targeted these offerings have become. This shift is also driving a culture change. Micro-fandoms are forming around these microniches, creating tight-knit communities. To capitalize on this, companies are making moves like launching vegan lines, collaborating on limited editions, or releasing professional versions of their products. You can see examples in action, like Nike teaming up with specific artists or brands, gaming companies releasing DLCs for particular communities, or SaaS providers creating tiered services tailored to different user needs. But there's a trap to watch out for. Spreading yourself too thin across too many niches can dilute the brand and resources. So the key takeaway here is that focusing on niches actually deepens your moat, making your competitive advantage more sustainable because you're serving very specific, loyal customer segments. Now let's talk about Tier 6, Global plus Niche Synergy. This approach is built on combining strong global capabilities with deep niche expertise. The core idea here is to orchestrate both elements seamlessly, creating a powerful blend that appeals broadly yet still maintains a specialized edge. Financially, we're looking at revenues in the range of about $1.2 to $1.6 billion, with profits roughly between $960 million and $1.3 billion. The key outcome: being big and intimate at the same time. That's the sweet spot this tier aims for. From a company perspective, it's about syncing global calendars with niche-specific plays, ensuring campaigns are timely and relevant across different markets and interests. For the customer, the message is clear. They're massive, but they still get me. It's about creating that sense of understanding and relevance, even at scale. We're also seeing a cultural shift. fandoms and mainstream audiences overlapping more than ever, which fuels this hybrid approach. Operationally, this means executing global tentpoles with niche overlays. Think of large-scale campaigns that are customized with niche elements to boost engagement. A couple of good examples are World Week campaigns and Spotify Wrapped, big global moments that also tap into personal, niche interests. But there's a trap here. Teams can become siloed, and timing conflicts can arise if coordination isn't tight. So, the key takeaway is that this synergy allows us to deliver mass appeal without sacrificing that crucial edge or authenticity. It's about balancing scale with intimacy, and that's what makes this tier so powerful. All right, let's talk about Tier 7, which we're calling New Basics. This tier is built from what I describe as ubiquity of synergy, meaning these features or services have become so integrated that they're just expected everywhere. The core play here is to become the default option, what customers see as the standard, the norm. Financially, this is a significant shift. Revenue is estimated around $1.4 to $1.8 billion, with profits in the $1.1 to $1.4 billion range. And the key outcome? We're establishing a new baseline, what customers now expect as standard, not an extra or optional add-on. From the company's perspective, this means a scale-up in operations and defaults appearing everywhere. For customers, the typical reaction is, of course it's included, because it's just become part of the package they get without even thinking about it. Culturally, this shift is subtle but powerful. You only notice it when it's gone. If suddenly these features disappear, it's obvious. So, companies are now moving to bundle these features into every purchase and standardize them across all channels, making them seamless and consistent. For example, Wi-Fi in cafes or cameras integrated into smartphones, these are now expected, not special extras. But we have to watch out because over-inclusion can lead to margin erosion. That is, it can cut into profits if not managed carefully. So the main takeaway here is that competitors can't ignore this new baseline. Once these features become standard, falling behind means losing relevance. They're simply part of the expected experience now. All right, let's dive into Tier 8, True Global Dominance. This stage is built from new basics, meaning the company has evolved its core foundation to support this level of leadership. The key here is the dual-core empire approach, which means the company operates two strong, self-sustaining businesses that work together to fuel growth. Financially, we're looking at revenue in the range of about $1.6 to $2 billion, with profits between $1.3 and $1.6 billion. These numbers highlight the significant scale and profitability of this dual approach. The outcome of this setup is that two engines are driving growth simultaneously, making the company more resilient and adaptable. From the customer's perspective, this company essentially feels like two pillars supporting its strength and stability. It's not just one business, it's two core pillars that reinforce each other. This creates a culture shift where the company is dominating two conversations at once, being a leader in two major areas. In terms of operator moves, the focus is on cross-selling, platform sharing, and governance, leveraging both businesses to maximize value and strategic advantage. Think of examples like Apple, with its iPhone and services, or Disney, with its films and Disney+. These are classic dual-core models in action. However, there's a trap to watch out for: internal turf wars. When two powerful engines exist within the same company, disagreements or overlaps can create friction. The challenge is managing these effectively. To sum up, the key takeaway here is that a dual-core approach offers resilience and dominance. It allows a company to sustain itself through diversification and to lead across multiple markets simultaneously. This is a critical stage in achieving truly global dominance. Now let's move on to Tier 9, Branch Off. This is built from dual-core maturity, meaning the core business has already proven itself and is now able to support the creation of a new, independent entity. The core play here is developing a parallel empire, essentially running two businesses side by side, each with its own growth trajectory. Financially, we're talking about significant numbers: around $2 to $2.5 billion in revenue, with profits ranging from about 1.6 to 2 billion. These figures highlight how impactful a successful branch-off can be for the overall company. The outcome of a well-executed branch-off is that the spin-off can thrive on its own, gaining independence and momentum. From the company's perspective, this often means launching new brands or units, expanding the overall ecosystem. From the customer's point of view, it's like saying, it's its own thing now. The new entity has its own identity, and customers see it as separate from the parent brand, which can help with positioning and marketing. This shift also influences company culture. Sub-brands or new units start to develop their own identity, which is crucial for growth and differentiation. Operator moves to support this include expanding channels and designing the spin-off organization to ensure it operates smoothly and autonomously. Looking at real-world examples, we see McCafe, AWS, and Disney Plus streaming, all examples of successful branch-offs that have become standalone brands. But of course, there's a trap to watch out for: brand dilution. If not managed carefully, spreading too thin can weaken the core brand or the new entity's identity. So the key takeaway here is that branch-offs are powerful. They multiply growth engines and create new opportunities for expansion. When done right, they can significantly accelerate a company's growth trajectory. Now let's talk about Tier 10, reintegration. This stage is built from the success of branching off. Remember, those initial moves that allowed us to innovate and explore new markets. The core play here is to fold these branches back into the main organization, creating a more unified and resilient entity. Financially, we're looking at significant numbers: over $2.5 billion in revenue and more than $2 billion in profit, showing that reintegration can be a powerful driver of financial strength. The outcome: an adaptive ecosystem that evolves seamlessly, leveraging shared data, fostering loyalty, and maintaining robust R&D pipelines. From the customer's perspective, it all just works together. They see a cohesive experience where everything feels connected and consistent. This shift in culture makes the process feel seamless, and loyalty naturally compounds because customers trust and engage more deeply when brands operate as one. As operators, our moves should focus on unifying platforms, integrating lessons learned along the way, and retiring redundant systems. Think of it as streamlining operations to maximize efficiency and impact. For example, Amazon leveraging AWS cash flow to boost Prime, or McDonald's incorporating McCafe into their core strategy. These are classic reintegration successes. But we also have to be cautious. The trap to avoid is cutting too deep, losing what made the original branch-off innovative or fresh in the first place. Balance is key. So the main takeaway here is that reintegration isn't just about consolidation. It's about long-term survival and sustained growth. When done thoughtfully, it keeps your organization adaptable, competitive, and resilient. All right, let's wrap up with some key takeaways. When we look at tiers 0 to 2, we're talking about the first big lift, a jump of over $400 million. This is where the initial momentum really starts to build. Moving into Tier 3, we're unlocking the potential for $1 billion impact. This is more than just growth. It's a culture driver that can transform how we operate and innovate. Then, for Tiers 4 through 8, the goal is to scale up to a $2 billion vertical. This represents a significant increase, roughly a 15 to 30% lift, and it's about expanding our reach and deepening our market presence. Finally, at Tiers 9 and 10, we're looking at creating a $6 to $7 billion adaptive system. This is where the system becomes flexible, resilient, and capable of sustaining massive growth over time. And here's the core idea I want to leave you with. The climb itself is the strategy. Each tier isn't just about numbers. It's about how the company evolves, how the customer experience changes, and how our culture reacts. We move from gaps to placeholders to craveable to branded, then to cultural to global to empire, and eventually to reintegration. It's a journey of continuous transformation, and every step shapes the next.